My father was a businessman, Mum ran the home, did a lot of charity work. You could say ordinary child's existence.
My relationship with my parents was very, very good. And I heard their conversations, of course. And they would be talking about Hitler's new anti-Semitic laws. I didn't entirely realize, of course, what that all meant.
School was marvelous for the first 3 years, between 1930 and 33, after which it started changing dramatically, quite rapidly. A number of my friends started turning up in Hitler Youth uniform, so at that point the playground got rather more lonely. But after Kristallnacht it was quite clear that Germany was not a place for Jews.
And so that's why my parents then registered me onto the Kindertransport lists.
My parents enrolled me. They made an application for me to go on that Kindertransport.
When we got to the station, there were hordes of crying parents and children.
We could only take a small suitcase. There was nothing in the case to indicate that this might be a long separation.
And as my parents hugged and kissed me, they whispered that I should look out of the train window at the next station but one. Well, I did this, and there were my parents on the platform, waving to me as if their hands would drop off. But you know, that's the very last time I actually ever saw my parents.
When I arrived in London, I was scared, excited, nervous.
When we got to Waterloo, we were taken into a very large hall, and it was immediately obvious to me how different life was.
I was naturalized while I was in the army.
I think the longer I lived in Britain, the more British I felt, and the more remote I felt from our German past.
When I was demobbed in early 1948, I came back to London and joined a club for young refugees. The chairman was a friend of mine, and one day he brought along a new member, and in came Anne. It took me 3 weeks to pluck up enough courage to ask her out, but I knew this was something special.
I was very attracted to him, but I also wondered about, well, he used to wear a sweater with a hole in it. And I thought to myself, how could I possibly marry somebody who was wearing a hole with a sweater in?
And our first date was in mid-March. And by the 5th of June, I remember the date very well, I knew I was going to propose to mary her.
But we had a very small wedding, so I always promised myself, because Bob and I loved dancing, and I always promised myself for our golden wedding, we would have a big party and we would dance. And we did.
Click the videos to watch more Londoners, and don't forget to subscribe.